On a recent episode of the New Heights podcast, the Kelce Brother podcast, Travis Kelce explained why the Cowboys passed up on him in the 2013 draft. There were actually 4 tight ends that were drafted ahead of him, and we'll go over which ones were drafted ahead of him. But here's the clip of him talking about this.
At the Combine, I had some bad interviews. The Cowboys, they were kind of pressing me about having this red flag of missing a year.
Being suspended for a season?
Smoking weed. I don't know if I was having a bad morning. I basically was just, I don't even know if I want to say this.
Time out. What'd you say?
It ended really fast. I basically just said, if you guys think I'm going to be that kind of guy or you're questioning if I'm still that person after everything that I've battled through to get to where I am now from missing a season, then you guys probably go somewhere else and pick somebody else.
And
that is exactly what they did.
They took your advice.
They took his advice and they passed up on a Hall of Fame tight end. And who did they take over Travis Kelce? Somebody most of you probably don't remember unless you're a Cowboys fan, because I didn't remember this guy. Gavin Escobar. This is who they drafted. And I don't remember him. This is his stat line throughout his career. 64 games, 30 catches, 8 touchdowns. Yikes, yikes, yikes. And like I said, he was not the only tight end that was taken ahead of Travis Kelce. Travis was the first pick in the 3rd round that year, and ahead of him, obviously, was Gavin Escobar. But the first overall tight end that year was Tyler Eifert with the 21st pick in the 1st round. Zach Ertz, 35th pick in the 2nd round. So obviously, decent pick there by the Eagles. He's had a great career. Then you have Gavin Escobar, of course, like we just talked about, and Vance McDonald with the 55th pick. So really, every team passed up on Travis Kelce, but especially the ones that drafted tight ends, teams that needed tight ends, and they made a huge mistake. And did the Cowboys make the right decision? That's the question today. Did they make? Clearly they did not, but at the time, were they thinking correctly? The NFL now, in 2024, they're pretty lenient on the marijuana policy. They essentially allow players to smoke in the offseason. And even Travis Kelce has said, as long as you quit a few weeks before training camp, you're fine. So obviously he smokes. He even has gone on to say that he estimates 50 to 80% of NFL players use cannabis. And this is why I think the Cowboys made the wrong decision at the time. Because I think a lot of these guys do it. A lot of these players smoke weed for one reason or another. Even Calvin Johnson, one of the best receivers in the history of the league. Calvin Johnson says he played under the influence of marijuana to deal with pain. And he was far from the only one that has come out and said that. Former NFL running backs Ricky Williams and Le'Veon Bell also admitted that they used to smoke marijuana before they played NFL games. And Ricky Williams was even suspended for that. And we'll get to why I think that's hilarious in a second, kind of hypocritical of the NFL, in my opinion. But nonetheless, moving on, we got former NFL star Percy Harvin says he smoked weed before every game of his career, and it wasn't a big deal. Percy Harvin, could have been great. Honestly, he could have been really great, but he had his migraine issues, he had some other injuries, and he kind of went out with a whimper. But apparently he smoked every single game. Then you have Marshawn Lynch, who came out and said he used to take 2 shots of Hennessy before football games as a pregame ritual. He's not smoking marijuana, but he's taking shots. And even Hall of Famer, one of the greatest defensive players of all time, Lawrence Taylor, would routinely come to practice drunk and under the influence, and said in an interview with 60 Minutes that he sometimes would participate in games after smoking crack, and even admitted that he retired early so he wouldn't have to worry about being drug tested for smoking crack. One of the greatest players of all time coming out and saying this. So here's the thing. The point here is a lot of great players have used drugs, and it did not take away from their play. Now, I think it's wrong for them to do so. It's the organization's policy. The organization says, don't do this. You should follow their rules. And if they're not following the rules, it kind of shows a lack of respect, right? It shows that they don't care that much. On the flip side, do I think it's that big of a deal? Smoking crack, yes, of course. Lawrence Taylor smoking crack, that's a big deal. But marijuana, that's not a big deal in my opinion. Unless you're Josh Gordon, of course. Josh Gordon admitted he would do drugs and get drunk before every Browns game, and clearly it affected his play. So I think it's an individual basis. More Browns players. Johnny Manziel, same thing. He'd go out and party every week, partied all the time. But here's where I think it's a little bit hypocritical of the NFL. And again, they've changed their policy since, but looking back at the Travis Kelce draft and the Cowboys being worried, oh, he smoked weed, he got suspended from Cincinnati for a year because of it, and using that against him to not draft him, the NFL, well, let me just go over Brett Favre here. So Brett Favre talks about his painkiller addiction. He used to be highly addicted to painkillers. He would take like a month's worth of painkillers in a day. He's taken 16 Vicodin all at one time. That's a severe, severe problem. And he's not the only one. This stuff was given to him by the team. Legal heroin was given to the players, and it's been given to the players for a long time to deal with pain. A recent lawsuit alleged that the NFL teams gave painkillers recklessly. And how much exactly? In this article, they detail in 2012, on average, according to the complaint, this is according to the lawsuit, each team was prescribed 5,777 doses of anti-inflammatories and 2,270 doses of narcotics. Considering that each team has 53 players, that could amount to about 150 doses of drugs per player each year. That is insane. These are legal narcotics pushed to players during the season. And I'm just going to guess, I've never used opiates before, but I feel like you'd function a little better on marijuana than on opiates, if you've ever seen anyone on opiates. So again, I just think it's a little bit hypocritical of these guys. So again, I think it's just a little bit hypocritical of these teams when they use it against a player that they have smoked marijuana in the past, or they do whatever, and then they give them these pills instead. It's hilarious to me. Obviously, things are changing and I think that's a good thing. Anyways, let's take a look at Travis Kelce's stats. I want to take a look at what the Cowboys missed out on. Currently, he's a future Hall of Famer. Obviously, there's no question about it. He's currently 4th in receptions by tight ends. Obviously, he's got 3 Super Bowls too. The most recent one. 4th in yards. He should be able to pass Antonio Gates next year. And Witten and Gonzalez. Look at the games played. They've played over 100 more games than Travis Kelce. So he's got a lot of play to go before he reaches them. And who knows, he might. And then he is 6th in touchdowns. So he'll pass Jason Witten next year. He's got to have a really good year to pass Jimmy Graham. But look how good Gronk was, by the way. He played, 24 fewer games than Kelce. And he's got 18 more touchdowns. That's insane. Anyways, Cowboys messed up. They could have had a Hall of Fame tight end, and they drafted a dud. This is the Cowboys' luck for you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that the Cowboys fairly judged Travis Kelce on his past? What do you think about players using marijuana today and using painkillers? Teams prescribing painkillers? Let me know in the comments while you're down there. Make sure you subscribe. A lot more coming from this channel. That's it for today's video. I'm Tyler Zed, and this is Armchair Hero.